Hi, welcome back to part 4 of the video on the demonstration for item analysis in SPSS and Microsoft Excel. So in part 3 video, we looked at how we prepare the Excel spreadsheet, the one that we transform from SPSS, and we've computed so far in Excel is what we've computed so far in Excel is the total score of the 20 items. Basically, we just want to confirm the calculation to compare with the one that we did in SPSS here, and basically they are exactly the same. Okay, so next what we did was we calculated the mean for each item, the 20 item here, and basically it's just the average of the whole item for 500 respondents. Same goes here. And we did also for standard deviation for each item, variance, and then we calculate the covariance between the items and covariance between the items. I'm trying to highlight the formula and the data here. See the covariance for the sample between item 1 in this case and the total score, and same goes here. This is the covariance between item 1, item 2 and the total score, and that's how it goes up to item 20, the covariance between item 20 and the total score. So that's the covariance, item total covariance. So now what we have to do next is calculate the correlation, and we know that correlation is just a standardized covariance, just as given by this formula. This formula is actually from the Pearson correlation formula, and we can see that it is basically the covariance, the standardized covariance, the covariance divided by the standard deviations of both variables x and y. So here in this case, we want to calculate the correlation. We can use this formula by using the covariance of the item and total score, and then we're going to divide by the standard deviation, basically, of both variables. First with the standard deviation of item 1 times the standard deviation of the total score. There you go. Okay, because we're going to keep using this cell again and again for all computation for the rest of the items, for the item total correlations for the rest of the items. So we have to anchor again the anchor $, the column, and now basically we have to also anchor the row. So we have to put the $, over there too. So that's the syntax, and hit enter, and we get 0.5 to 0.526 basically. And in order to do for the rest, we just drag. Yep, it worked. There you go. So basically we are using the covariance between item 2 and the total score, and we divide by the standard deviations of item 2 and the standard deviation of the total score. And that's our correlation. Okay, I think Excel also provide the formula. If you don't want to do the formula that we just did, we can just compute directly the correlation, actually, not covariance. Correlation between the item. For example, we have here again C2 up to C501. Oops. Okay, I forgot to put the second variable, which is the score. So the score is actually that on that part. We have here score. I'm gonna just drag it just to have some variety in my demonstration. So we're just gonna drag the second variable, which is the total score. Close the parenthesis, and we get exactly the same, like the one we did. But again, if we're about to drag everything, we have to actually anchor the column, because we're going to use the same column over and over, so we have to anchor it. And this time we're not using only one column and one row, so we just use one column. So now we just anchor the column by putting the dollar signs in front of the axis. Okay, hit enter. There you go. Hopefully now if we drag, it returned the exact same numbers. The reason why I copied this formula earlier from my slides is just to practice using some of the formulas that we've learned, and the basic statistical concept. So here again, I'm just gonna use I'm just gonna leave this too, so that you can see the difference between using the formula that manually or the formula in Excel, whichever works for you. Okay, and I think we have the mean, the standard deviation, the variance, and the correlation for the item and total score. And now what we need next is Cronbach's alpha for the whole 20 items. Basically, Cronbach's alpha, like I mentioned earlier, is a reliability coefficient for to ensure that our scores is dependent. So let's just Cronbach's alpha. Okay, now we have Cronbach's alpha. In order to do that, the formula given here is basically number of items divided by number of items minus 1, and then we multiply by 1 minus the variance of the items, the sum of the variance anyway, and then divided by the variance of x. X basically in our case here is going to be the total score. Okay, so let's just do it. Let's just start calculating the Cronbach's alpha using the given formula. First we have 20 items divided by 20 minus 1, 19, and then we're going to times it with 1 minus, and then put in another parenthesis, the sum of the variance for all items. Basically here we have y sub I means basically the items for every items for every item 1 to 20, and then we have to sum up all variance. So basically we just use sum of the variance for the whole items, and then close the parenthesis, and then because the sum is actually together, we have to sum everything first, and then we start to divide by the variance. And then again, just need to close the parenthesis. But before we close, we have to make sure that this is for that part, and then another parenthesis is for this whole part. There you go. This parenthesis and that parenthesis. Okay, let's hit enter and see whether it works. Yep, exactly what we want. Let's save this. I am not that certain whether we have like existing formula for Cronbach's alpha. Let's try in case. Nope. And maybe reliability. I don't know. I don't think there's like one clear-cut formula for Cronbach's alpha in Excel, but hey, we have the formula here and we can compute it since we have all the information that we need. There you go. So now we have everything in Excel. What can we do is actually do some adjustment. We can actually now copy everything, the one that we have down here. We copy this and we can open new sheet, paste it as the values only, because if we paste it normally it's gonna come out. For example, if we paste using this one, it will come up with no reference because we used a lot of formulas earlier in the previous worksheet, and usually it won't carry forward unless we share it as formula, but then we don't have all the data, I think, to actually come up with the proper value, the potential value. So what I did is just paste as the values. So now basically now we just have numbers. We don't even have formulas in these numbers. So if you just want to get the formula, you just need to go back to the next spreadsheet. So now we have all the values, and then why we are doing this is actually we want to change everything in a more presentable. What I mean by presentable is basically try to make it as an APA format. Now we have to do, we transpose everything. So basically this is what we have. We have the mean, standard deviation, the variance, covariance, total correlation, and yeah, the same thing, because we just test. So we can just delete this whole thing, and maybe we can also, okay, this is the mean. So what we can do is actually, this is the standard deviation. Need to do some arrangement a little bit, so we can basically bring alpha here